Our movie begins with Nell, who is setting up in front of the mirror for the Christmas party she's hosting at her home. Later, Nell was chilling before her invited friends arrive at the party. At this time, Bella and Alex are on their way to Nell's house, and James and Sophie are also on the route. Sophie tells James that she doesn't want to go to the party because she feels that Nell doesn't like her. However, James reassures her that he can refuse Nell's invitation as he treats her like a sister and they must attend the party. Meanwhile, Tony, Sandra, and their daughter Katie are also on their way to the party. Sandra has secretly liked James for a long time and doesn't love her husband. At the same time, Nell's son Art accidentally injures himself while cutting carrots, startled by the loud voice of his father Simon chasing after the chickens. Nell comes downstairs to check on her son, upset that blood has spilled on the carrots. Shortly after, Tony, Sandra, and Katie arrive first at Nell's house. Katie shows little manners and asks Nell about the sweets, as Sandra had promised her there would be plenty at the party. Nell becomes nervous because she forgot to prepare them and tells Katie that the sweets are ready. When Sandra realizes that Nell forgot to make the sweets, she becomes anxious too and asks Tony to go buy some from the store down the street so that their daughter doesn't get upset with them. It's noticeable that everyone is afraid of Katie and doesn't like her, keeping her in check. After that, Bella and Alex arrive at the party. At that time, Katie is searching the whole house for her son Art, even in the restroom. After a while, James and Sophie arrive at Nell's house. Sandra greets Sophie from afar, but she warmly greets James. However, he keeps his distance from her so Sophie doesn't get upset. Then Sandra goes out to take sweets from Tony and Simon and tells them that James and Sophie are arguing. She rushes to the kitchen to overhear with the other girls. They overhear James saying to Sophie that they shouldn't tell them now and keep it a secret as for now. They didn't know what they meant. Art interrupts and asks him about what he hasn't told them, but James jokes with him and distracts him to get him to leave the play. After a while, the food is ready and they all sit at the table. Before they eat, they ask Simon to say grace with them, but he gets nervous and doesn't know what to say. Then Nell intervenes and speaks, and they start eating. Sophie wants to speak and talk about something, saying that the children must know it, so James tries to stop her. Before she finishes speaking, Simon interrupts and says that the food was delicious and his wife is a skilled cook. Afterwards, the children speak and say that they saw on the news that there is a poisonous gas spreading and everyone will die tomorrow morning. They argue with Katie, but Simon stops them. Art enters his room and sees a post about a suicide pill that will kill you instantly with no pain to avoid suffering from the poisonous gas. Then Sandra and Nell come down and sit with the younger children to explain to them that they are not to blame for anything happening in the world. They tell them that they love them. After that, they all go down to play a game together and enjoy their time. James, Simon, and Tony stand together. James tells them that Sophie is pregnant. Simon and Tony are worried and tell him that he must convince her to get rid of the child, but he tells them that she doesn't want to kill their child. Tony asks James not to tell Sandra about this news so she won't kill herself, and Simon asks him not to tell anyone about this news, especially the children. After that, everyone gathers again, distributes gifts. Art argues with Katie and gets up and leaves them. Simon follows Art to comfort him. Art says that Katie is a stupid girl. He asks his father if anyone will take the pill. His father tells him that people like the homeless and immigrants won't take the pill because they are not listed by the government to be supplied with it. Art is upset because these people really exist and wants to help them take the pill, but his father tells him that they should only worry about themselves at the moment. At night, they all go out to shoot fireworks into the sky. Afterwards, the children sit with Sophie in one room while the rest gather in another room and look through their old photo album, recalling their past memories. James and Sandra confess to everyone that they used to love each other, but she got married and left him, and since then, James hasn't been able to forgive her. Tony is shocked to hear this and becomes upset with them. Bella tells everyone that she and Tony also used to love each other. Everyone is shocked shocked to hear this revelation. Nell enters and consoles them, encouraging them to forgive each other. Meanwhile, Art sits in his room watching on his phone about the toxic storm approaching them. Sophie comes in and asks about why he is sitting alone. He tells her that he won't take the pill that kills instantly, asking her not to tell his father that he doesn't want to take these pills. Simon enters and he seemed annoyed to see Sophie with his son. He asks Art to come along with him to call his grandmother on video call. Later, Bella stands with Sandra, both fearful of death due to the gases, and they learn that some people have actually died. Returning to Nell, Simon and their children, they were still on video call with Nell's mother, who suddenly says she must hang up. Nell cries and get out of the room. We know that at that moment, Nell's mother felt the storm approaching and decided to take the suicide pills and died. Simon goes to Nell, worried about her, trying to console her. Afterwards, we go to Art, who watches a photo of himself with his grandmother. He goes to James and Sophie's room and talks to James. Knowing he's a doctor, he tells him that he doesn't want to take the pills. However, James tells him that if he doesn't take him, he will suffer unbearable pain. James wanted to tell this to Simon, but Sophie stops him. Art suggests it could all be a mistake or a trick, but James insists it's real. Art argues that he should help the poor and needy to take the pills because he's a doctor. James becomes tense and doesn't know how to respond. He leaves the room and everyone celebrates and says goodbye. Then Sophie tells Art that he is brave and she also won't take the pills because she's pregnant and doesn't want to kill her child. At that moment, Nell enters their room and Art tells her that he won't take the pills to stay with pregnant Sophie. Nell becomes tense and takes Art, calling Simon. They all go to the car to have a small family discussion. There, Art tells them that they want to kill him, not the gas, and he suggests they could hide together from the poison. But Nell tells him that the poison is spreading everywhere and they cannot hide from him and it will kill everyone. She asks him to listen to them, but he refuses and runs away from the car, far from them. Art runs to the forest and finds a car with a dead family. The gas spreads around Art and he screams. Simon hears him and runs to him, trying to take him and walk away, but he can't move, so he held him and walked into the house. Art was silent and shaking. There, James took Art from Simon, assuring him that he is in good hands. He takes Art up to Sophie's room to calm him and get back down to Simon. Nell later goes up and asks Sophie to stay away from her son and shuts the door in her face. At that time, Art starts having seizures in his room. Meanwhile, Simon, James, and Tony agree to be with their families because the poison has spread and they need to take the pill. When Bella enters the room, she tries to wake Alex up, but she was in deep sleep, so Bella takes the pill and gives one to Alex. Then James tries to give the pill to Sophie, but she refuses, so he tells her that if she doesn't take it, he won't either. Tony, Katie, and Sandra take the pill, and Katie decides to go get her doll because she forgot to say goodbye to it. We see Nell, Simon, and their children take the antidote, and when they give it to Art, they find blood on his face, which means he died of the poison. We go back to Alice, who suddenly wakes up, takes a pill, and Bella realizes there are no more pills left. So Bella goes with her to the kitchen and stabs her with a knife, killing them both. At that time, Nell, Simon, and their kids were all in the room, lying on the bed saying goodbye to each other, took the pill, and died. The storm approaches their house and everyone was dead by then. The next day, we see everyone dead when all of a sudden Art opens his eyes. And that's it. If you like this recap, hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to keep seeing content like this one. If you have any requests or thoughts, drop them below in the comments section and we will see you at the next one. Peace out.